Not every moment caught on film was meant to be seen. In cinema, where every shot is carefully staged and every movement rehearsed, the camera still manages every now and then to record something it shouldn't. Not because of an actor's mistake or a missed cue, but because something entered the frame without permission. Sometimes it's a passing shadow. Sometimes a face that doesn't match any cast member. Sometimes it's movement in the background when no one was meant to be there. These aren't production bloopers. They're not clever cameos or horror Easter eggs. These are fragments caught unintentionally that no one on set seems to remember happening. When asked, directors offer vague shrugs. Editors swear it wasn't in the footage they handled. Actors go quiet. And yet, those fragments exist. Locked in final cuts, lingering in old VHS transfers, hiding in streaming releases that fans have frame analyzed for years. They slip through edits. They escape reshoots. They become urban legend. Sometimes they're explained away a crew member left in the shot, a lighting artifact, a prop gone rogue. But sometimes there is no explanation. Just a silent image burned into celluloid, refusing to vanish. In this episode, we revisit 15 background events that were never planned, never scripted, and possibly never noticed until now. They were never invited, but somehow they made it in. Cloverfield, 2008. The monster wasn't the only thing hiding in the footage. Most remember the chaos, the screaming, the handheld panic. But rewind to the quiet moment at Coney Island, a flashback before everything falls apart. As the couple sits on the subway, the window reflects something behind them. A face, unmoving, too close. The reflection doesn't match either actor. It doesn't move when they do. And in later versions of the film, it's gone. Director Matt Reeves brushed it off as a lighting error. But lighting technicians disagree. The angle of the glow doesn't match any on-set rig. Some fans believe it was a viral Easter egg. Others call it something simpler. And far stranger, a glimpse of someone who shouldn't have been there, but was. Found footage thrives on accidents. But what if this one wasn't? Maybe the camera found more than the story wanted to tell. The Ring, 2002. The curse didn't stop at the screen, it might have reached the edit bay. Rachel Keller studies the cursed tape frame by frame, searching for meaning in its static and symbols. But hidden in the flicker, for less than a second, there's another face, pale, hollow, unfamiliar. Not Samara, not anyone. You can catch it only if you pause at the right moment. It's not in every release. Some DVDs have it, some don't. The director, Gore Verbinski, denied adding subliminal imagery. Yet one of the sound mixers later admitted, that frame wasn't part of our render. Some viewers say the reflection changes depending on format. Others claim the face blinks. No one's ever proven where it came from or who it was. If the tape inside the story was cursed, what does that make the one we're watching? The Shining, 1980. Perfection leaves no room for accidents except one. Danny's tricycle glides through the maze of hallways in the Overlook Hotel. The silence of the wheels rolling over carpet and tile is hypnotic. Then, in the briefest of moments, something interrupts that symmetry, a leg, bare and unmoving, in the dark space just behind the wall. Only a single frame, then it's gone. The Steadicam operator swore the hall was sealed. Only he and the sound team were present. Kubrick's notes list no one standing in that position. Yet, when slowed down, the image is unmistakable, a leg, bent, human, alive. In most films, it would be dismissed as error. But The Shining is different. Every frame is purposeful, every shadow accounted for, which makes this impossible. Maybe the hotel wasn't haunted by spirits at all. Maybe it was haunted by the act of being filmed. Eyes Wide Shut, 1999. Kubrick controlled everything except the shadow. The orgy scene is flawless in symmetry, masks, robes, candlelight, ritual, every movement timed, every light deliberate. Yet, as the camera pans across the marble floor, a shadow glides across the far wall. It's tall, human, out of rhythm with everyone else. Kubrick's team insisted it was impossible. The lighting setup didn't allow for that angle. Some thought it was a grip caught in the frame. Others suggested it was Kubrick himself, accidentally captured in reflection. But here's what makes it worse. The shadow appears to move after the camera stops. A delayed echo of motion, like something following the lens, not the light. The shot was never reshot. The shadow stayed. Maybe Kubrick noticed, maybe he didn't. In a film about masks, secrecy, and power, what happens when the unseen refuses to stay hidden? Darko 2001. Some riddles aren't written into the script, they crawl into it. In the scene where Donnie and his friends joke about cartoons, the camera drifts lazily across the field, teenagers laughing, sunlight falling through trees. And then, far in the background, something shifts. At first, it looks like a dog. Then you realize it moves wrong, elbows too sharp, spine too long, crawling low across the grass before sliding out of frame behind the bleachers. No one in the crew recalls seeing it. Richard Kelly shrugged the question off when asked years later. But fans who slowed the footage noticed the movement isn't natural. It doesn't match a human gait or an animal's rhythm. It's stitched, almost artificial. In a movie obsessed with time loops and alternate realities, this anomaly feels like a visitor from another version of the film, one that was never supposed to exist. Maybe the timeline glitched. Or maybe the film just captured something from the wrong one. Hereditary, 2018. Some things in this family's curse were written. Others appeared on their own. The shot is simple. Peter sits in class, sunlight drifting across his face. He's quiet, hollow, barely holding together. But through the window behind him, blurred by glass, stands a shape, too defined to be a reflection, too human to be ignored. It doesn't move, doesn't blink, and no one on set remembers it being there. Ari Aster later said the moment was designed to make viewers feel observed. But the camera operator contradicted him, saying there was no one positioned outside that corridor. What's more, when the scene was reshot for lighting reasons, the silhouette appeared again in a different part of the background. It was dismissed as coincidence. But how many coincidences can fit inside a single frame? In a film where trauma passes through generations, could this be something inherited from the shoot itself? Children of Men, 2006. In a movie famous for its control, this was something it couldn't. The battle rages, concrete walls shatter, blood, smoke, fire, all captured in a single take. Alfonso Cuarón's choreography is seamless, but as the camera swings through a stairwell, something flickers on an upper floor. A man, alone, still, holding what looks like a glowing rectangle, not a prop, not a torch, a screen. The production claimed no background actor was placed there. The building was locked down during the take. The shot, famously uncut, was cleared of all unplanned movement. Yet frame-by-frame analysis shows the figure blinking, then vanishing. Digital effect? The crew says no. They used practical sets, real-time lighting. The lighting team later admitted, "We don't know how he got up there." In a film about the end of humanity, maybe the most disturbing thing wasn't the war, but the watcher no one invited. The Exorcist 3, 1990. It wasn't a scare scene, it became one. A nurse sits behind a desk, her pen scratching quietly against paper. The hallway behind her is still, until something crosses it, slow, awkward, like a human shape that doesn't understand how to move like one. It's easy to miss a blur in the corner, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. The body moves stiffly, out of rhythm with the shot. Director William Peter Blatty later insisted the corridor was locked during filming. No one was meant to be there. The script calls for no motion in that frame, and yet, there it is passing behind her, just long enough to feel intentional. When the scene was remastered years later, some versions quietly cut it out, others didn't. Maybe it was just a trick of the light, or maybe the light caught something that wasn't supposed to be seen. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, 2001. Middle-earth was crafted with precision, but one presence wasn't invited. When Frodo wakes up in Rivendell, the scene glows with warmth, sunlight, soft music, peace. The camera drifts along the corridor behind him, and for a fleeting instant, someone moves through the light. Cloaked, graceful, silent. No dialogue, no reaction. The figure passes, and the shot continues as if nothing happened. The studio later called it a crew mistake, a costumed assistant wandering into the frame, but Weta Workshop denied ever making robes of that color. Fans slowed the footage and compared versions. In one, the figure's gone. In another, he's there, mid-stride. In a trilogy where every costume and movement was planned to perfection, such a slip seems too unlikely. In a world built on myth, did something ancient decide to make a brief appearance without asking permission? The Passion of the Christ, 2004. They filmed pain, but something else slipped in. During the flogging scene, brutal, slow, unbearable Jesus is chained, surrounded by Roman soldiers. But behind a cracked stone column, deep in the shadows, a pale face can be glimpsed. The eyes glow faintly. The skin looks bloodless. It appears in exactly 3 frames, just enough to notice if you're watching for it, not enough to confirm what it was. Mel Gibson said Satan was present throughout the film, represented in subtle ways, but this particular image, it's not the same actor. The robe doesn't match, and the lighting, it doesn't hit anyone else in the shot the same way. Theatrical screenings didn't include the figure, but in several home releases, especially early Blu-rays, the anomaly is there. Viewers have described the moment as off, wrong, uncomfortable, in a way that feels separate from the film's violence. In a story about divine suffering, did something else decide to watch from just outside the light? Three colors, red, 1994. Not every ghost is supernatural. Valentine walks down a quiet Geneva street. It's dusk. The scene is poetic, meditative, like most of Kieslowski's work. But in one window above the street, something interrupts the stillness. A man's face, staring downward, unmoving, unseen by the characters. No one ever refers to him. He never reappears. The production later confirmed no actor was assigned to that window, and the set design didn't even include access to that room. The camera simply caught him. Kieslowski was known for precision. His frames are dense with meaning, but this figure doesn't fit the story's metaphor, theme, or structure. He doesn't belong, and that makes him the most haunting image in the entire trilogy. If coincidence was the film's subject, did this stranger appear by chance, or was he drawn to it? Signs, 2002. It was meant to look like real footage. Maybe it was too real. The scene unfolds through a shaky handheld camera at a child's birthday party in Brazil. Children laugh, the parents call out, and then silence. A figure steps across a narrow alleyway, not running, not threatening, just passing through. It lasts only 2 seconds, but what makes the moment unforgettable is how casual it feels. No music stinger, no dramatic camera push. Just something tall and thin walking past, glancing sideways, and then gone. M. Night Shyamalan later said the scene was meant to emulate raw camcorder footage, but several effects artists have admitted that exact alien model wasn't scheduled to be composited into that frame. Some say the figure reflects in surfaces it shouldn't. Others claim the lighting on its body doesn't match the environment. No one has offered a full explanation. It's supposed to be fiction, but that specific shot? It plays more like an accidental confession. If what we saw wasn't in post, then who or what was walking through that alley? Back to the Future Part 2, 1989. Time travel was scripted. She wasn't. Among neon lights and flying cars, Marty McFly wanders through Hill Valley. 2015, the future imagined through the lens of the 80 seconds. But tucked behind a group of extras, a woman stands absolutely still, staring straight at the camera. No blink, no motion, no record of who she was. When fans dissected the scene years later, they noticed something eerie. She didn't match the futuristic costumes around her. No call sheet listed her. The director's notes contained no mention of the figure. In one later edition of the film, she's gone digitally erased, with no explanation from Universal. It's as if she never existed, or perhaps she was never meant to. If time travel can rewrite history, what about cinema? Can it erase someone who shouldn't have been there in the first place? The Wizard of Oz, 1939, a fairy tale world of color, with a secret that refuses to fade. In the forest sequence, Dorothy and her friends skip along the yellow brick road singing, glowing under the Technicolor light. Then, far in the distance, a dark shape dangles from a tree branch. Too high to be a bird, too still to be part of the scenery. Audiences first saw it decades later on VHS, pausing, zooming, debating. Theories flooded tabloids. Was it a prop accident, a reflection, or something more tragic? MGM never commented. Later, remasters blurred the background, as though trying to make the rumor disappear. Yet the legend stayed alive, the mystery hanging figure, immortalized in one of cinema's happiest worlds. The truth may be mundane, an oversized bird or a trick of perspective, but the discomfort it caused felt real. The Wizard of Oz, a symbol of childhood wonder, suddenly had a shadow it couldn't shake off. In a movie built on fantasy, why does one unplanned image feel more real than all its magic combined? Three Men and a Baby, 1987. It was supposed to be a harmless comedy, but one frame turned it into a ghost story. In a sunlit New York apartment, Ted Danson walks across the room, carefree, unaware. The tone is cheerful until the curtain behind him shifts. There, half hidden, stands what looks like a boy, motionless, silent, watching. The cast later insisted it was nothing, just a cardboard cutout left behind from another scene, but no one could explain why it was placed near that window, or why its height and shape changed between cuts. Rumors spiraled. Some swore the film had been shot inside an apartment once linked to a child's death. Others claimed the boy vanished in later home releases, quietly erased by the studio. Disney denied any haunting. Yet, the mystery deepened when fans noticed small inconsistencies across different versions. The curtain folds, the lighting, the angle. Whether it's an innocent prop or something that didn't belong in front of the camera at all, the effect is undeniable. the laughter fades, and for a few seconds, three men and a baby stops being a comedy and becomes something else entirely. Was it a leftover prop or a guest the crew never invited? Sometimes, silence isn't empty. It's full of what you're not supposed to hear. Amenabar's The Others is built on quiet, every creak, every whisper calculated for dread. But in one hallway scene, there's a sound that no one can place. Grace, Nicole Kidman, walks past a door, holding a candle. Everything stills. Then, faintly, a whisper. It's not part of the script. It's not subtitled. It doesn't match any actor's voice. Audio engineers said the track was clean. No ambient pickup, no spillover from another set. Yet in several international releases, if you listen closely, especially with headphones, you can hear it. A child's voice, almost pleading, "I'm still here." The director never confirmed its origin. Some call it an intentional Easter egg, others an audio bleed. But one version of the master file archived years later has a strange note scribbled on its label. Unlogged voice, keep. When a film about spirits ends and one still speaks, maybe the movie didn't finish recording, it just stopped listening. Closing thoughts. 15 films. 15 moments that were never in any script, but somehow ended up immortalized on film. Some dismissed as coincidences, others quietly erased. Yet each one leaves behind the same question: who or what decides what the camera captures? The line between fiction and accident is thinner than we think. Sometimes, the story doesn't end when the director yells, "Cut." So what if the camera wasn't just filming, but watching? Which of these moments unsettled you the most? Have you ever paused a scene and realized something in the frame shouldn't be there? Tell us what you saw, and subscribe to Darkroom Cinema, where every frame hides a secret waiting to be found.